What if I told you some of the games on this list tell stories so captivating, they rival Hollywood blockbusters and best-selling novels? But here's the twist: you get to live and shape the story yourself. Today, we're counting down 30 story-driven games that will leave a lasting impact on how you experience gaming. Alright, our story starts with the Telltale's The Walking Dead, one of the most emotional games I've ever played. The game is less about action and more about the tough moral choices you face in a world falling apart. I remember feeling the crushing weight of every decision, and by the end, I was emotionally drained, but also completely satisfied with the journey. The Walking Dead is the perfect example of how choices can shape the story. The game's episodic structure created a tight, engaging experience, allowing the narrative to unfold over several months. The heart of the game is the relationship between Lee and Clementine. It's easy to see how the developers were inspired by the narrative style of graphic novels. The game doesn't just focus on zombies, it explores the moral choices in a post-apocalyptic world, where survival means making difficult decisions. The emotional weight the game carries is exceptional, and it's a standout example of how to make a good story and make a game.
Are you in trouble? Do you need money?
No, I mean, I'm a little behind on my rent, but...
There have been countless Spider-Man games, but none have nailed the character as well as Insomniac's. The reason? It tells an incredible story that's just as much about Peter Parker as it is about the famous comic book hero. Peter's struggles, balancing his life, dealing with loss, and fighting for what's right even when it costs him, are the heart of this game. And it doesn't just rely on existing Spidey lore, it expands on it. Dr. Octopus's tragic arc, Aunt May's role, and even how the game handles MJ all make this feel like a fresh yet familiar take on the character. And of course, the gameplay complements the story beautifully. Every swing through New York, every brutal boss fight, every quiet moment where Peter reflects on his choices, it all makes the game feel like living through the best Spider-Man game to date. We had a lot of requests to include this one, and we like to listen to the community, so hit that subscribe button. Let's talk about the next game on this list.
I'm giving you an order, rookie. You save yourself first.
Remember when survival horror felt, well, survival? Resident Evil 2 Remake takes everything we love about classic survival horror and elevates it to a terrifying new level. The Resident Evil 2 Remake is an absolute masterclass in storytelling and atmosphere. From the moment you step into the Raccoon City Police Department, you're greeted with dimly lit hallways, unsettling silence, and the faint, ever-present sounds of growls and footsteps that could be a threat.
I think your daughter needs help, sir.
This game doesn't rush the scares, it lets the tension build, making each encounter more nerve-wracking than the last. Resident Evil 2 Remake delivers a gripping story of survival, starting with Leon S. Kennedy's first day on the job as a rookie cop in a city on the brink of collapse. Alongside Claire Redfield, who's searching for her brother, they uncover the truth behind the Raccoon City outbreak, triggered by the sinister Umbrella Corporation. As they fight to survive against grotesque bioweapons, the characters grow, with Leon evolving from an unsure rookie to a determined hero, and Claire's fierce devotion to family driving her forward. It's a haunting tale of corruption, survival, and loss.
And stop whoever's behind it. Helping people like them? That's why I joined the force.
Set during the Black Death in medieval France, A Plague Tale: Innocence introduces players to Amicia and her younger brother, Hugo, as they try to survive both a deadly plague and an army of rats overtaking the countryside.
No! Go, Leon!
This game masterfully blends stealth, survival, and puzzle-solving elements in a way that keeps you constantly on edge. The atmosphere is heavy, the environments are hauntingly beautiful, and the story's filled with twists that make every chapter gripping. It may not have the massive scale of some of the other titles on this list, but what it delivers in storytelling and atmosphere makes it a perfect 10.
The cemetery.
Next, we have a classic entry from the Yakuza series, Yakuza 0. I've played a few of these, and this one for me has one of the most intense stories. I dove into Kiryu and Majima's worlds and got completely hooked on the characters, side quests, and wild combat. Yakuza 0 is a masterclass in blending drama and humor. Developed by Ryuga Gotoku Studio, it serves as a prequel to the original Yakuza game and delves deep into the backstory of series protagonists Kazuma Kiryu and Goro Majima. The game's world is one of the most detailed and immersive I've ever experienced, with a thriving city full of side quests, mini-games, and vibrant NPCs. I've included this one because of its story. It's full of twists, emotional depth, and humor, with moments that'll make you laugh and others that'll leave you on the edge of your seat. The narrative is grounded yet absurd, a perfect reflection of the Yakuza world. This game not only introduced new players to the series, but also cemented Yakuza as a must-play franchise. Beneath the surface of Horizon Zero Dawn is one of the most well-crafted sci-fi narratives in gaming. What starts as a personal journey, Aloy, an outcast searching for answers about her past, quickly spirals into a grand, post-apocalyptic mystery spanning centuries. What makes Horizon a standout game is how it blends intimate, character-driven storytelling with large-scale world-building. The slow unraveling of what happened to the old world, the rise of the machines, and how humanity fell is genuinely gripping. But even with all the grand sci-fi revelations, the game never loses sight of its emotional core. Aloy quickly became one of my favorite gaming protagonists. The world itself was so unique and beautiful, exploring the wilds, taking down machine beasts, and uncovering the history of the world was completely captivating, especially with the range of machines to fight. The combat was challenging, and I was constantly adjusting strategies based on the machines I faced. The story, especially the twist at the end, is definitely worth a mention. Another great game on this list is God of War, which returned in 2018. It wasn't just a comeback, it was a complete reimagining of the series. Leaving behind the Greek pantheon, Kratos now finds himself in the world of Norse mythology, accompanied by his son, Atreus. This father-son dynamic introduces an emotional depth that fans hadn't seen before, blending seamlessly with the game's gritty combat and exploration.
Nothing's gonna stop us.
The world is vast, filled with secrets, side quests, and lore that brings the Norse gods and creatures to life in stunning detail. The weapons and combat in this game are particularly satisfying. Assassin's Creed 2, a standout in the series. The story of Ezio became an instant favorite, and I loved watching his journey from a brash young man to a seasoned assassin. The setting of Renaissance Italy was rich and vibrant, and exploring cities like Venice and Florence never got old. The parkour mechanics were smooth, and the combat felt satisfying. What really kept me hooked was the story, the political intrigue, family drama, and the deeper mystery behind the Assassin's Creed. It was a game that kept me coming back for more.
And may it never change us.
The game expanded on the first by adding larger, more complex cities, detailed NPC interactions, and a more involved combat system that made each encounter feel like a fluid, choreographed dance. This was a massive jump in terms of freedom that just wasn't present in the first game. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. I'm sure a lot of you have been eyeing this one up recently, and the game does not disappoint. Developed by Machine Games, the minds behind the modern Wolfenstein series, this treasure hunting adventure is packed with action, brain-teasing puzzles, and, of course, plenty of 90s nostalgia. Released in late 2024 for Xbox Series X and S and PC, with the PlayStation 5 release coming in spring of 2025, the game has been praised for its authentic indie vibe, mixing stealth, puzzle solving, and intense set pieces. Expect to be deciphering ancient riddles, sprinting from collapsing temples, all that good stuff you expect in an adventure title, while still celebrating the Indiana Jones films. The Great Circle channels everything you love about the iconic archaeologist.
It ain't a walk in the park.
Okay then.
The game uses Harrison Ford's real likeness, continuing the trend of having real-life actors in video games. The voice acting in this one, however, is done by Troy Baker, who's also the voice of Joel in The Last of Us, and he does a great job here. Horror games don't usually get praised for their stories, but Soma is different. This isn't just another run from the monster experience. This is existential horror at its finest. The game throws you into a submerged research facility where things have gone horribly wrong. But instead of relying on cheap scares, Soma messes with your mind. The deeper you go, the more you start questioning the nature of identity, consciousness, and what it even means to be human. The final twist? Easily one of the most thought-provoking moments in gaming. Unlike traditional horror games, Soma's best moments aren't about avoiding enemies, but in the slow, creeping realization of its themes. The game makes you think, and not just in a what do I do next way, but in a what even is existence kind of way. It sticks with you long after you've finished, and few games can claim that. Our journey begins in feudal Japan with Ghost of Tsushima. This action-adventure masterpiece places you in the role of Jin Sakai, a samurai fighting to save his island from Mongol invaders. But it's more than a war story. Jin struggles with his identity, torn between his traditional samurai code and the harsh realities of guerrilla warfare. The game's world is stunning, with picturesque landscapes that breathe life into its emotional tale. The story might not be as powerful as some of the other games on this list, but with its layered characters, moral dilemmas, and a soundtrack that pulls at your heartstrings, Ghost of Tsushima is an unforgettable gaming experience worth sharing.
They are brutal.
Imagine a world where androids walk among us, not as machines, but as beings yearning for freedom. In Detroit Become Human, you guide 3 androids, Kara, Marcus, and Connor, through a branching narrative filled with life and death decisions. Every choice matters, shaping not just their fates, but the course of an entire society. The game dives deep into themes of humanity, justice, and morality, challenging you to reflect on your own values. With breathtaking visuals, top-tier voice acting, and endless replayability, Detroit Become Human isn't just a game. It's an experience that evolves based on how you play it.
Fight for what you believe in.
Few games have impacted the industry like The Last of Us. This post-apocalyptic journey follows Joel and Ellie, 2 survivors navigating a world ravaged by a fungal outbreak. But it's not the infected that steal the show. It's the heartbreaking bond between these two. The game masterfully explores themes of love, loss, and survival, often forcing players to confront the darker sides of humanity. With its emotional storytelling and unforgettable moments, it's a game that redefined what video game narratives could achieve. If you haven't played it yet, prepare to be utterly captivated. The Wolf Among Us isn't just a great story game. It's a masterclass in world building, atmosphere, and choice-driven storytelling. Based on the Fables comic series, it throws you into a gritty, neon-lit noir, where fairy tale characters live among us in a shadowy underbelly of New York City. You play as Bigby Wolf, the former Big Bad Wolf turned sheriff of Fabletown, trying to keep order in a world where everyone has something to hide. The game is a twisting murder mystery that constantly forces you into impossible choices. I've chosen this one because beyond its storytelling, the game oozes personality. The art style, heavily stylized and dripping with neon hues, is still striking today. The voice acting? Top tier. The soundtrack? A moody, synth-heavy dream. If you love stories where moral shades of gray matter more than clear-cut heroes and villains, this one's essential.
We need to solve this before something else happens.
I could hear Punchinello on the phone begging for help. He should have been saying his goodbyes.
A bullet-riddled noir revenge tale drenched in cynicism, Max Payne isn't just an action game. It's one of the most narratively gripping shooters ever made. From its opening moments, the game sets a relentless tone. His journey isn't just about vengeance, it's a downward spiral into paranoia, grief, and existential despair. The game's graphic novel-style cutscenes, narrated by Max's weary, almost poetic inner monologue, make it feel like a hard-boiled detective novel come to life. But what really makes Max Payne an all-time great story game is how it never loses focus on character. Max isn't just a badass with a gun. He's broken, haunted, and barely hanging on. Every enemy he takes down, every piece of the mystery he unravels, feels like another desperate step toward an ending he knows won't bring peace. And, of course, the iconic bullet time mechanics only amplify the cinematic feel, making the action feel just as stylized as the story itself. Playing Max Payne was a thrill. The bullet time mechanic was revolutionary at the time and made each gunfight feel cinematic and over the top. I really got into the dark noir atmosphere, and the story was gripping in its own tragic way. A game worth playing even today. BioShock. Set in the underwater city of Rapture, this game didn't just give us a story, it gave us a twisted philosophy on choice, control, and power. Would You Kindly became one of the most iconic twists in gaming, forcing us to rethink everything. BioShock was haunting, philosophical, and beautifully dystopian. It proved that games could ask the big questions and still pack a mean punch. Metal Gear Solid. If you're into hiding in boxes, dodging guards, and eavesdropping on dramatic villains, this game was a goldmine. Hideo Kojima didn't just give us a game, he handed us an interactive movie, complete with all the espionage, plot twists, and snake-like reflexes we could handle. Kojima's brainchild taught us that video game characters could have layers, and of course, that stealth is key, even if you have to hide in a cardboard box now and then. Considered one of the greatest RPGs of all time, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt places you in the boots of Geralt of Rivia, a monster hunter searching for his missing ward, Ciri. But I'm sure you probably know that. If you haven't already played it, now's the time to check it out. You don't need to know the story of the first two games to enjoy it either. It's a tale of love, destiny, and war. Every quest, from the main story to the smallest side mission, is filled with depth and consequences. With its rich lore, morally complex characters, and a world that feels alive, The Witcher 3 delivers an unforgettable narrative experience that sets the standard for storytelling in games. In Mass Effect 2, you lead Commander Shepard and a crew of misfits on a mission to save the galaxy. It's a story about camaraderie, sacrifice, and the weight of leadership. What makes this game truly shine is its cast. Each companion has a rich backstory, personal struggles, and missions that deepen their connection with you. Your choices not only shape the fate of your crew, but ripple across the trilogy, making every decision feel meaningful. With cinematic storytelling and some of the best character development in gaming, Mass Effect 2 is an unmissable epic. In the nuclear wasteland of the Mojave Desert, Fallout New Vegas tells a story of power, revenge, and survival. As the courier, you're left for dead after being shot in the head, but your journey to uncover the truth spirals into a battle for the fate of New Vegas itself. The game's branching storylines let you align with factions, betray allies, or carve your own path to power. With its razor-sharp writing, dark humor, and world that adapts to your choices, New Vegas remains a standout in the Fallout series and one of the best RPGs ever made. Dive into the eerie, atmospheric world of Alan Wake, a psychological thriller that blurs the line between reality and fiction. You play as Alan, a novelist trapped in a town where his own horror stories coming to life. As darkness closes in, you'll fight shadowy enemies using light and uncover the mystery behind his wife's disappearance. With its Stephen King-inspired narrative and chilling atmosphere, Alan Wake delivers a gripping tale that keeps you guessing until the very end. It's a must-play for anyone who loves suspenseful, story-driven games.
Block to carve your path across.
Disco Elysium is unlike any game you've played. This detective RPG drops you into the shoes of a washed-up cop trying to solve a murder in a city teetering on the edge of collapse. But it's not just about solving crimes. It's a deep exploration of identity, politics, and the human condition. Your choices shape every aspect of the story, from how you interact with characters to the kind of detective you become. With its sharp writing, philosophical depth, and unique gameplay, Disco Elysium is a storytelling triumph that challenges you to think like never before. At its core, Life is Strange is about choices and the consequences they bring. You play as Max Caulfield, a photography student who discovers she can rewind time. This ability lets you reshape events, but it also forces you to face tough moral dilemmas. The story is deeply emotional, touching on themes like friendship, love, and the struggles of growing up. With its relatable characters and powerful moments, Life is Strange is a narrative-driven experience that proves games can tackle real-life issues with honesty and heart.
She had a heart attack or a car accident.
What Remains of Edith Finch is an evocative and emotionally powerful narrative experience that explores the lives of the Finch family, whose members have met tragic and mysterious ends. Edith Finch returns to her family's decaying mansion to uncover the story of her ancestors, all of whom died under unusual circumstances. As she explores the house, each room tells a unique story about one of her relatives through a series of interactive vignettes, each reflecting the character's life and eventual death in a creative, often surreal way. The game blends exploration, puzzle solving, and emotional storytelling to paint a poignant picture of a family cursed by fate. The immersive nature of the gameplay allows players to experience each story firsthand, from the perspective of the family member in question, whether it's through a fantastical, exaggerated sequence or a more grounded, realistic scenario. Set in the sprawling, neon-soaked streets of Night City, Cyberpunk 2077 immerses you in a dystopian world where technology blurs the line between humanity and machine. You play as V, a mercenary haunted by the digital ghost of rocker rebel Johnny Silverhand, voiced by Keanu Reeves. The game's story is as much about your personal journey as it is about unraveling corporate conspiracies. Whether you're making life-altering choices, forming deep relationships, or exploring moral gray areas, Cyberpunk 2077 delivers a story rich in depth and emotion, complemented by an open world that feels alive at every turn.
So what was that?
Guys, I hope you're enjoying the video so far. Please hit that subscribe button if you can. It really helps. But next, I want to tell you about the emotional story of one of my personal favorites. Uncharted 4: A Thief's End is an epic when it comes to storytelling. The game sees the treasure hunter Nathan Drake grappling with his past as he's pulled into one last quest. The story masterfully balances blockbuster action with deeply emotional moments, exploring Nathan's relationships and the cost of his obsession. The banter between characters feels natural, and the performances are top-notch, with breathtaking set pieces and an emotional climax that ties up the series beautifully. This game proves that even action-packed adventures can tell a heartfelt, human story.
Yeah, like ever.
No, not by a long shot.
My name is Scott Shelby. I'm a private...
What would you do to save someone you love? That's the question Heavy Rain asks as you unravel a tense, dramatic thriller. The game follows 4 characters, each tied to the origami killer.
Ethan Mars has had psychological problems since his first...
Your choices shape the outcome, and no one is safe. Any character can die, permanently altering the story. It's a gripping tale of loss, desperation, and redemption, bolstered by a cinematic presentation and gut-wrenching moral dilemmas. For fans of interactive drama, Heavy Rain is a masterpiece that keeps you on edge until the final reveal. A story told through silence and shadows. Shadow of the Colossus is a minimalist masterpiece. You play as Wander, a young warrior on a quest to bring a girl back to life. To do so, you must defeat 16 towering colossi scattered across a desolate landscape. The game raises profound questions about morality, sacrifice, and the consequences of your actions, all without heavy dialogue. Its hauntingly beautiful world and emotional impact make it one of the most unique storytelling experiences in gaming, proving that sometimes, less really is more.
I asked you a question.
Step into the boots of Arthur Morgan, an outlaw caught in the dying days of the Wild West. Red Dead Redemption 2 isn't just a game. It's a sprawling epic that explores loyalty, morality, and the cost of survival. As a member of the Vanderlyn gang, you'll witness their rise and fall, all while navigating complex relationships and making choices that impact Arthur's fate. With some of the best writing and acting in gaming history, this is a story you'll never forget. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is everything I hoped for and more. I've already sunk over 50 hours into it, and I feel like I've barely scratched the surface. The attention to detail is just insane. Every town, every forest trail, every little interaction feels so authentic. It genuinely feels like stepping back in time. Now, the combat? Brutal and rewarding, offering some of the best first-person melee combat in gaming. And don't even get me started on the quests. Some of the choices I've had to make are still haunting me. Plus, there's always something pulling you back in, whether it's perfecting your swordplay, hunting for treasures, or just sitting down for a quick game of dice. This is the kind of game that makes the hours fly by.
I urge you all to be vigilant.
Warn me about what?
In a world overrun by terrifying zombie-like creatures, Days Gone offers more than just survival. At its heart, it's a deeply human story about love, loss, and redemption. You play as Deacon St. John, a drifter and biker searching for hope in a brutal, unforgiving world. The game's open world is filled with danger and mystery, but it's the relationships Deacon forms and the secrets he uncovers that truly drive the narrative. It's an emotional ride that balances intense action with quieter, heartfelt moments. Guys, hit that subscribe button. We have tons of amazing lists coming soon. Check out our next video, and we'll see you in the next one.